All right, what's up, guys? We're here on part 2 for the interview on copy and remote work and all of that and good stuff. So I'm here with my friend Mike Swigunski, and he's the author of this book right here, The Global Career. And we're drinking a couple 10-cent iced coffees. Shout out to Graham and Stefan.
Cheers, Graham.
Obviously, if you're here for part 2, then it means you probably start part 1, or if you're just tuning into the new video on the channel. Yeah, I just wanted to welcome you guys back. The thing about Mike is that he's got a lot of really good experiences in terms of like 10 years of traveling and working online. A lot of people, I don't know if you've lived in Asia or if you work in Asia or whatnot, a lot of my followers have been traveling as well, but basically he worked for Empire Flippers and he managed a lot of their marketing for a very long time. So he knows Justin and Joe personally. He's seen a lot of businesses be bought and sold. He's brokered a lot of those deals as well himself. So he just has a wealth of experience. He's been to over, how many countries? Like 100 plus? Like
85.
85, yeah. So he's also been doing this for, like I said, a decade, pretty much just living out of the US forever. And so yeah, we've also been working on a mastermind here. We didn't basically just focus on business with 5 guys, and we were meeting bi-monthly. And so yeah, there's a lot of experiences here. So I wanted to talk to Mike about like basically the copy that he's done or the experiences he's had with copy, and see kind of like how that works with the business and how that aspect really rolls into everything else. I just want to know, Mike, so what is your experience with copywriting? I mean, I know you do a lot of different stuff for your websites. You do a lot of social media stuff like that. You're building your funnels and whatnot. You got a lot of good results with your funnels as well. So how important of a role do you think that copy plays with that, and kind of what's your experiences with that?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important skill sets for, I consider myself a full stack marketer. Mm-hmm. So I've got experience with copy, Facebook ads, email automation. And I would say copywriting is so important because it's used everywhere. It's going to be used if you're just sending an email to somebody, you're still going to be wanting a response, trying to either work with somebody that way, or if it's more complex of writing a book, writing a blog post, content and copywriting is going to come into play. So being able to kind of put yourself in the shoes of whoever you're writing that copy for, just kind of taking a step back and really trying to figure out what the end goal is. And a lot of times you're just wanting to add value to their lifestyle or to whatever post they're leading. Sometimes making sure you know what the purpose is of your article, because I see a lot of content that they're trying to just do too much. They're trying to do 10 different things in an article, and it's not going to be, you're going to fail at all 10 of those things. So try to stick to one sort of main thing, and that's either going to be pushing people further down into another piece of content, trying to get them to opt in or buy something, or just even give you a response, whatever that is. The content, I think a great example that I've seen is the content for a book cover and the back of the cover are going to be both different things, and then inside of the book.
Because you have to sell the book when people are picking it up.
Exactly. So for the book cover, you've got 10 seconds to really capture somebody's attention.
Yeah.
And when you're scrolling through Amazon, you're going to have thousands of different competition.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why my book cover, I wanted to design something that is a lot different. It kind of stands out. And then the copy on the back is, if you're in a bookstore, people are going to pick this up and they're going to read it a little bit more. You've kind of captured their attention. But the main purpose is to sell them this book.
Yeah, of course.
That's copy. And I think each part of whatever content you're writing, you need to figure out what the purpose is and try to guide people to make sure that they're moving towards that next step.
Cool.
So
one thing that I have a question for with this book. So when you're writing The Global Career, I want to ask about how was it when you're actually writing and where you're doing all this copy on the front and back, like you mentioned, but then obviously there's a lot of content inside, which has to be actionable and has to be relevant to the leads. So, and then of course when you're wanting to market the book, right? So just an example, like you've written the actual cover, the back, and then of course the insides, but also you have to switch a little bit of a brain mindset, you know, kind of when you're marketing it. So how does that differ when you're writing the content inside, looking to provide the value where it's just content and deliverables, versus when you're writing the front and the back and you're looking to market it in the future?
Yeah, so I would say the inside of the book, I try to find personal hands-on experiences that I've had and relate that to practical, actionable advice. And I try to find the right blend, and I think it's worked really well because people can see, okay, this person was able to do this, here's the results, and here's the steps or how he was able to achieve those results. So I think having that blend was worked really good for the inside of the book. But as far as finding the whole book editing process, it's actually way more complex, and I think, you know, some people can get away with just writing one draft, publishing that, but I wanted to take it a lot further. So I think any type of content, once you're getting serious about it, you want to have a few other eyes look at it. And for the book editing process especially, I had my first rough draft, had an editor go through it with a comb, then send it back to me, and then that version that came out is completely different than what I had submitted. It's so much better. It's so much more fine-tuned. And then I had a proofreader come in, and I was like, I don't need a proofreader, but everyone in the publishing industry that I spoke with is like, hey, you're gonna want this. You're gonna see the results. And it's crazy. I was very skeptical. I was like, this is just a bunch of BS. But after a proofreader goes through your edits, it flows so much better. And I think a copywriter kind of needs to know the editing process, needs to know proofreading, and needs to know about the writing process, because they can pick up bits and pieces of that, because the way a book flows is going to be a lot different than like the version that you initially submit.
Sure.
So I think just being conscious of that, being aware of what your end goal, and for the book, my sort of primary thing was just to help people to add value. As I was writing it, I kind of decided to, you know, add value and create more stuff, and that's why I created the remote job website and a few other offers for people that were looking to get started. So I think you really need to figure out what kind of is going to help your audience as much as possible, and just make content around that.
I agree fully. So I'm curious as well, because like I said, or maybe in part one, we said we've been connected for about 6 months, and then the last 3 months or so we were doing a mastermind about bi-monthly, right? So as you're wrapping up all this stuff with the book, we've covered a lot of stuff with your content as well and your funnels. So I'm interested to know, like, how has this book contributed to your funnels and your overall strategies of helping people find remote jobs and setting up your remote job site, and, you know, getting developers and designers and all the marketing that you had to do all around that? Like, how has this book contributed to, you know, being kind of a front end kind of magnet to pull people in, right? And how do you usually transition with your email copy and your ad copy and all the social media stuff? So how do you use this as a front end kind of funnel and conversion, and then how do you move people to the next stages of what you want to do as a client, what you want them to take action on?
Yeah, so I think the book would be considered a top of funnel tool. And again, it's leading people towards our job website. And again, that's another free resource. So when I created the book, my main purpose was to add value for people and to help people kind of build a career where they can work and travel around the world, just as I've done. So that was my main purpose. But as I went along, I started building a business around it. And in addition to the book, I've got the job site. Once people are on the job site, they can use that for free. And if they have trouble finding remote jobs, they can find out about our remote life program, which helps, you know, it's kind of a done with you program that is for advancing your career. And the main way that people get into our funnel even deeper is by joining our email list. And I think email marketing is kind of the last frontier where you own pretty much the platform. So you own those emails once they've opted in. You can send, you know, 50,000 emails on our list. They go to 50,000 inboxes.
And you own that. That's your people.
Yeah, that's our list. Whereas a Facebook group or something like that, a Facebook page, you post something and you have 50,000 followers, less than 1% are going to see that post.
Plus it's just gone forever and then it gets buried.
Exactly. So I think having a really good opt-in, we have a free PDF, which is the top 100 remote companies.
We're gonna put that in the link below. Obviously, we'll put the relevant show notes and the links and whatnot, and anywhere that you'd like to check out. There's a lot of more stuff to go in deeper.
Right. So once people have kind of gotten in our funnel, we try to provide a combination of free resources and paid resources. So if people are looking to take that next step, they need some additional help. So I think just trying to really build something that kind of go through the path that your client or your customer is going to go down, and producing content for that, whether that's with blog posts, email content, or something on YouTube. You got to figure out what that is. And I think one of the best ways to do that is by surveying your audience. And it's funny, I got into YouTube because I surveyed all 50,000 of my email subscribers. And I was about ready to start a podcast. I was like, podcast, let's do it.
And I want to do a podcast, so let's do it. And then the audience is like, how about would you do a YouTube channel for us?
So after interviewing or after surveying more than 2,000 people, like 85 or 85% said I should do a YouTube channel. They said that's how they consume content. That's where they want to go. It's the second biggest search engine out there. And it really is a great platform to connect with people. And video is an aspect that's something that I wanted to improve upon. So podcast was like less than 1%, which you have to see what works for your business. Podcasting may make great sense for you.
You got to go where your audience is hanging out already, right?
Exactly. So that's what kind of got me down the YouTube rabbit hole, and been making weekly videos for, I don't know, pretty much since April. So
cool.
Yeah,
we're going to obviously link to Mike's channel as whatnot, but got a lot of cool things going as well for just people who are looking to get into the remote job workspace and understand how to make money on your own by working remotely. Because this is, like I said before, what we've been doing full time, and it's been a good while since we've been doing this. I mean, we really are just, like I said in the first part one, like this is our normal lifestyle. And this is something that is kind of just we're used to it now, but now we want to bring those free resources up to the top of the water to have other people be able to take advantage of that. And also a little side note here is like, if you're interested in getting into copywriting or some other graphic design or career development, whatever it is, you don't need to always just be your own entrepreneur. You don't have to start a business. And especially with COVID, when everything happened and all crazy and fast this year, like 2020 was a hell of a year. But you don't have to, if you're going to remote work and kind of shift to working at home, you don't have to be only working for yourself and feel like you have to work on every single piece, like the marketing, the sales, the copy, the branding, the content. Like you don't have to do it all yourself if you don't feel like making your own business. So one thing that Mike can really help you with is that remote job search. So if you're really looking to get into remote work because maybe your industry has a lot of cuts this year, or it's just shifting that way, or you want to kind of get on the future bandwagon in the internet for the next 20 years, like this is obviously where things are heading. You don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be an entrepreneur yourself. You can work for other people by working at home, and that's what Mike is great at helping you do. So obviously you check the book, check the site, all the links will be below, everything like that, obviously. So just a side note there.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to add a note there that I think the progression, some people are just like, they want to jump straight into entrepreneurship, but if you don't have the right skills, you're just going to fail. You need to have kind of a tool belt of skills 100%. To be successful in entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And I think a better progression is to find a entrepreneurial company where you can learn some of these skills, whether it's copywriting or marketing, and you can kind of develop that over time. And then maybe you can build a side hustle and kind of slowly build that over time. There's no correct path. You got to figure out what works best for you, what situation you're in, and figure out what skill level you're at right now. Because I think getting a remote job and learning these skills for a few years and then developing your business, because you're going to have consistent capital coming in with a remote company that you can invest into your business. A lot of people starting off, they don't have much capital to put back in their business, so they're really not going to be able to grow. And a lot of businesses need 6 to 12 months to really kind of get off the ground. That's just the nature of it.
The beast,
Yeah. So
is that what you did as well? I mean, you can shed a little bit of light of the Empire Flippers work. I know you were making pretty decent money with them. You were also learning a lot from them. I mean, those guys are killers. You know, they're doing really well. Their business is growing all the time. They've been doing it for a long time. And so I know that helped you get a launch pad for all your experience now as well. So talk a little bit about how you started there and kind of like how that helped you also, like you said, build your bankroll and then be able to build the experience on someone else's time and dollar while also contributing to them. And then when it was, you know, when you decided it was the right time to go your own way, kind of how you built that launch pad for yourself.
No, exactly. So luckily for me, I kind of decided, or I realized early on during the job seeking, I'd actually moved to Australia and I was looking for, you know, jobs, and I'd found a job with a startup company, and it was a marketing role. And this is, again, you need to try stuff out and figure out what you like. And after this role, I realized I loved marketing. I loved everything about it. I went on to pursue an MBA in South Korea with a scholarship. Again, I don't recommend people going to get an MBA and going into debt.
Yeah, in another country.
Yeah, in another country. Yeah. But anyways, it was a great experience. My MBA taught me more marketing techniques and connected me to some more people who would later help me get a role with Empire Flippers. So I had started off as an apprentice for Empire Flippers, even though I had 2 or 3 years of marketing experience and MBA. And I was at a point where I'd just been working for a marketing startup in New Zealand, and they ran out of capital. We went separate ways. It was a great, 4-month ride. But again, it is what it is. But I was at a point where I had to decide whether I wanted to continue searching for a job where I would probably be making more money, but it probably wasn't going to be as long term. Or I had this offer from Empire Flippers to start as an apprentice, learn more marketing techniques, learn more about this growing industry. And so I took a pay cut and kind of an uncertain route, but it was really one of those things that had greatly benefited me because I learned...
You're taking a chance on yourself as well.
Exactly. So I took a pay cut to learn more about an industry, learn more about a startup and marketing techniques that I never would have learned if I continued down and only thought about money at that time.
Sure.
So it was a great decision, and I was one of the first employees at Empire Flippers, employee number 4, and we built the company up to $120 million in revenue. Wow. One of the fastest growing companies in the United States. So it definitely had came up a long way, and it is a great business. Justin, Joe, and Greg, and all the guys at the company are great people, and I definitely think being able to have that transition period where I published my book in 2018. I had left the company, this year in April. It really gave me that runway to get things, have a really good structure before I transitioned into going into my stuff full time. Yeah. So I think, you need to have at least 6 to 12 months of your financial runway for yourself,
100%.
And then at least 6 months of runway for your business.
Yep.
So if you don't have that, I think you need to start working on that, start putting away more money. Yeah. Before you make that leap over to entrepreneurship.
By the way, what you mean by runway, I believe, is that you 6 to 12 months of your own personal capital to be able to have those monthly expenses covered no matter what without working. That's cash sitting in the bank usually, or something equivalent like a CD or something that can be converted. But simple cash in the bank for the time that you would need to cover all those months living. And then on the other side, business-wise, you need to have 6 to 12 months where you could actually pay for ad costs, set up your website, maybe hire some people. Like that's money that you would have to use no matter what you're earning, because it's there and you're going to spend that, and that number, you need to find that number and then know that and then put it in the bank. And then only then you should probably have that runway. I think that's important to remember. But
I will say though that if you are getting started, I think it doesn't take that long to figure out if your business is gonna make it. I think a lot of people, they spend 12 to 2 years building a business, and then they kind of test it out, and they've just wasted that time. You really need to have a proof of concept as early on as you can. Yeah. Whatever it is, build that MVP, that minimum viable product. Build it, test it, and try to sell it as it is, and you'll get feedback with dollars. So if people aren't pulling out their wallets to pay for your service or your business, make some tweaks. Don't give up on it right away. Get that feedback from those people. Why aren't they buying? And then make some adjustments. But again, don't spend 2 years of your life building a business that isn't kind of, people haven't pulled out money for.
Yeah.
It needs to be.
You can't just build the product in the shadows and then 2 years later emerge and be like, does anybody want this? It's like,
Right.
well, you didn't build it off the market. You didn't build it on the research and their needs, right? So
Working at Empire Flippers, I always recommend, if you do have the capital, the fastest way to success is to just buy an already established online business.
sure. Shortcut a lot of that learning curve, right?
Exactly, because there's a crazy high percentage of businesses that fail in the first 2 years.
Yeah,
So this can you can acquire an asset that's already generating profit.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think just the Empire Flippers guys, they've been doing a lot of stuff at a high level for a long time. And I remember for some of you who know my story, when I began in Thailand, I was working on the Dropship Lifestyle program. So I was working under Anton's, course creation back in the early days. And I remember Anton has always been pretty close with those guys as well.
Yeah.
And then Joe, I believe it was, he came to speak at one of the conferences, and I met him personally. All a bunch of dudes went out to lunch, and super solid guy. Been looking at looking up to their work or their progress for a long time, and learning from them as well. And then I remember back when when they were in Saigon, I was in Saigon around the same time as them in 2016 and whatnot. So I think just going back to my story and your story as well, it's just interesting how the two backgrounds have also merged, because like we're here and we're working. We've been doing our thing for about 6 months here together, especially with the mastermind, keeping updated on the progress and everything like that. Mike also had a really good formula that I think you learned from Matt Diggity as well, or for the SEO with the mastermind thing, and you helped him with the
I've been working on masterminds. So if you're looking to join a community, again, you're not in this alone. We're here to help you out with our content. I'm happy to answer questions and emails, so reach out to me. But again, you need to find people in your community who are kind of at the same level as you, or maybe a little bit further along. And again, a lot of people who are 5-10 years further along than you, they may not be as willing to go as in depth without some financial payments to get their help. So
has to be a value transfer on both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
So you really need to figure out is find your community, find your tribe of people that are going to hold you accountable. Going to help you kind of learn everything you need to do to get your business off the ground. Yeah. But again, don't hesitate if you do need some advice or tips to reach out to either of us, and we can try to send you down the right path.
Yeah, definitely. I think one or two more questions here. I just want to wrap it up, but this has been immensely valuable, so thank you for your time as well. I think that a lot of people that are tuning in today will really get a lot of value from obviously your book, your work, your emails, the content, all the stuff that you're really just generously giving out for free. And then of course, if you want to go deeper and figure out how to find yourself a remote job, which I think a lot of people should be focused on that, then you need to do that. So like I said, obviously we're going to be dropping a lot of valuable links in the description. I was just going to say the last thing about that is just how the paths merge in terms of like what we're working on now, but also where we've come from. And I think a lot of people know my story as well, when I started with just basically getting into copywriting, basically by needing the money at the moment. I was like trying to get the money as soon as I possibly could, because I was running out of it in my e-commerce business and kind of learning about direct response at that time. And then when I started to learn that, the sales went up because I was obviously boosting my copy, my persuasion, the research and the avatar, understanding how to make conversions on the sales pages and whatnot. But just from my perspective of basically having, going down to zero, and basically when I moved out, I was 20, and I basically, did it all on my own. I had like $3,000 or whatever for the runway, which was only 5 or 6 months or something like that. So I've done it the hard way, and Mike's done it the hard way as well. But like I feel like the way knowing what I know now and knowing what I've done, I would definitely do the way that you just suggested. So if you are starting, just to know that the baseline, again, to go back to that whole runway concept, personal and business is 6 to 12 months on each side. So just to reiterate that, because the way I did it was jump in head first and learn how to fly on the way down the cliff, right? And that's one way to do it, but it's not the most efficient, because my learning curve was so steep and I didn't know how inexperienced I was, right? Because I was young and just brand new to travel and business and all this stuff, right? So I would say that, your way of stocking up some baseline capital and then being able to have a longer runway is definitely more solid. And I would suggest that if you're getting started. So maybe you can talk a little bit about maybe let's say you're not going to start a job, or you're not going to do the remote job, and you would like to start a business, or you are kind of already having your remote job, prospects kind of rolling it out, and you maybe are looking to transition, and don't know where to go, like what do you think is the best way to kind of figure that out? Like how do you know when it's time to start the new business, or when it's time to go out on your own, or how do you begin, actually stacking up some of that initial capital so you feel like you have that confidence and momentum? Like how do you navigate those waters?
You need a few $1,000s to at least invest in the business, see if it's going to sink or swim. You really need to figure out, once you get those customers, as long as you're making a profit within the first few months, then it seems like it's probably a proven business model. Yeah. But again, there's no real formula that's going to fit. You need to come up with a business, test it out, and try to find people that are willing to hop on a call. I think that's one of the things that I've gotten immense amount of feedback is, and this is kind of what I've done to launch new products, is I have a free survey. I survey people, figure out what issues they're having. At this point, you probably have a few ideas that you're thinking about your business. Figure out what issues those people are having, what problems, and then have your kind of 2 or 3 business ideas. Ask them what they think about that, what they would pay for something like that. Yeah. And then at the very end, ask them a lot of relevant questions, get their contact information, and just get on a call with these people. See if they would be interested in actually buying this product or this business. What kind of problems are you solving with your business? Because that's essentially what you need to figure out. Yeah. And again, it's going to come down to these same people that took the time to take your survey could be very well some of your first customers. And that's going to be your proof of concept, is after they filled out the survey, set up a call with them, get the feedback, and come back. Once you do have a MVP, try to sell those people that product, that solution. It's like, hey, you said you had this problem and this problem.
And you said you might pay this for it, right?
Yeah, so here it is.
What do you think?
So I think that's a great technique. That can take pretty much, all you need is a free survey. You can post it in Facebook groups that are going to be your general clientele. Get, at least 100 people to fill it out, so that way you do have some data points. And then just try to sell it to people. Don't spend a year trying to build it out. But again, I think you just need those first few sales, make your first $1,000. Yeah. And
that's the benchmark for the online, or any business really. If you can make 1,000 first, and then obviously do that every month and start doing them, then you can pretty much go from wherever you would like.
Right. It's much easier. The 0 to 1,000 is the hardest part.
Yeah, 100%.
The next part is a lot easier. It's a lot easier to scale and to just kind of dump more ad revenue or ads into your business, or whatever kind of marketing technique you want to go into. Yeah. But I think that 0 to 1,000 is the hardest part once you've kind of proven that. And maybe it's not just a one-time thing. If you need to have some consistent months where you're at least making that $1,000. Yeah. I think once you've kind of hit that point, you can really go all in your business and really start focusing more on that. But everyone's got to figure out what's comfortable for them. Sure, yeah. I recommend at the very minimum, 6 months of runway for your business and your personal life. For sure. And that's why these locations are so attractive to people like us, is because we're not tied to a location. Yeah. All we need is a laptop and good Wi-Fi. Yeah. But that's the great thing, is you can have a really great lifestyle at a fraction of the cost of living in the United States. Sure. And I do think that's something that's worth considering. And we've had months here where we're like, well, we just earned 12 months of rent or something, a year of rent in a month. Yeah, it's crazy. And it's just astounding to be able to do that. And
I also think that it's important to recognize, we're not scraping by on $1,200 a month or something.
Right.
We're living super well, and we're making still Western standard income and whatnot. We're still challenging ourselves. We're pushing ourselves. Right. We're saving. We're investing. We just have that runway where it's I think my normal expenses are about $1,000 a month. I think you're probably not much past that. Right. He's got a great place here. I got a really nice house as well. We just have great food and good people, good vibes. Everything's amazing, and it's extremely low cost. But all the extra income is just icing on the cake. Right. You chunk it away in the bank. You put it in investments. You buy your real estate, or chunk some away from stocks or cryptos or whatever you're trying to invest in long term, and also pumping that right back into your business. And like you said, with ads or whatever to profit, you put it back in to reinvest. It's not like we're just scraping by on super small incomes and trying to just stay out here for as long as we can. It's we just have a super long runway, and we have a lot of leverage. So we could live in other states and other countries and other places, and you've, like you said, lived in 80 plus countries. And a lot of them are just as expensive or more, especially in Western Europe, more expensive than the States oftentimes. So it's not about the cost really. At a certain time, when you certain point, you get a leverage point and you have the skill sets where you support yourself, it really becomes an enriching, valuable lifestyle experience where you just choose to be wherever you'd like to live. Like I said, we got an amazing community of people right here. So yeah, great points. Thank you for sharing everything. One more question is that if you are one person who's just like, all right, I know I need to do this stuff. It's time for me to get my own remote job or my own business. And let's say you have like $1,000 extra per month to put aside. Your emergency fund is straight. You got 6 to 12 months stacked to personal capital. You got business, and you're looking to say, all right, I'm going to spend $1,000 per month, to figure this out, do my MVP, get that initial product running. What are like 3 or 4 things that you would start to do to build a new business that's 80-20ing it and hacking your progress and really putting that work forward?
Yeah, so I would say, at some point you're going to need to figure out a way to scale your business. And I think, learning those techniques, you can't be an expert at everything. So if you have $1,000, I would probably spend that on marketing. So either Facebook ads, content, some way that's going to draw more customers to your business. So at this point, they've kind of already proven the business, I guess.
No, I'm saying let's say you're just starting out and like you maybe you don't even have any skill sets or you want, but maybe all right, I want to be a copywriter, or like I really want to do graphic design, or I want to work on the video descriptions and podcast editing and stuff like that. Like whatever, you've chosen a place that you want to move forward to. But you are just basically brand spanking new, and that you want to change your lifestyle to be more remote and work for yourself, or have a job, or work on the business, and you have a little extra capital and time to deploy. Like, what are the 80-20 tasks where it's like, all right, like this is how you learn and this is how you grow and you build the thing that you're trying to do? Yeah,
I would essentially, if you do have that capital, just invest it into learning materials. Because if you already have the business idea in mind, you're like, this is what I want. Start developing the business. But if you don't have that yet, and you just can't come up with a good idea, I would start just learning skills, trying out a few different things. Maybe it's every month you're learning, taking a new course or something, and investing that $1,000 into educational materials. I think there is so much good value out there. There's a lot of good free things, but a lot of times that's only going to get you to a certain point. Yeah, totally. At some point, there's a lot of trash stuff that you're going to pay for. But again, try to get some referrals from people, make sure that it does have good reviews and stuff. But I would say, invested in books, invested in learning skill sets. But again, the best way to go forward is you just kind of got to get your hands dirty and start doing stuff like building a website. If that's something you need to learn, I've learned how to build websites through YouTube. It's not that difficult once you kind of figured everything out.
But that's basically number one, right? Start getting your hands dirty, learn, grow, pay, invest, and commit to yourself, and actually be able to work on learning the skill sets. What are a couple of, let's say 2 more things, so we can have like at the round 3 and be like, what's the second thing you would work on if all right, like we're learning about your develop first times is often the first stages. It's like, all right, success, mindset, consistency, discipline. Okay, you're learning all that. Maybe it's skill set, copy, design, marketing, whatever. Right. Number 2, what are you supposed to do?
I would say kind of find your community or your tribe or your people. Figure out where they're hanging out, whether that's in an online community or if it's in person. There's so many Facebook meetups and groups. You just kind of got to go to them, find what people are doing. Maybe you can either, out of those meetups, you can find a mentor, a coach, somebody who's a few years ahead of where you want to be, and just try to see what type of advice they had for you to get your business up and running. So I would say that's number 2. Find your community.
Can help with the business ideas too. You can see what other people are working on in the middle of it, right? And
exactly.
Maybe this is a good idea for me, maybe not. Right.
Cool. Yeah. So I think finding your community or your tribe is going to be essential. I would say after that, you really just need to kind of stay focused. Like once you've kind of figured out what path you want to go down, you really need to figure out, what specific problem or thing you want to solve. Yeah. So figuring out a problem is going to be the next big thing. Is like once you kind of have an idea, I think it's almost better to reverse engineer business ideas. Totally. Start with the problem and then invent something around that or create a business around that. And a lot of times there's going to be 3 main things that businesses solve. They save people time, they help people make more money, Those are the two big ones.
Or it's like a personal issue, like health or confidence or like social skills or dating.
Right.
Yeah. I'll just jump in. One thing that you see veteran entrepreneurs, people are successful and people have experience like Mike as well, is that like they are hunting for problems, right? So you're starting your business, like you just said, you're reverse engineering it. You're like, you're not thinking like, okay, what's the next business idea? How can I make the next Apple, Google? Like, no, you're thinking, what are people struggling with right now? What are people around me complaining about? What are people online complaining about possible competing reviews, right? On Amazon maybe. You're hunting for people that are things that people are saying that are dissatisfying to them and that are stressful and annoying and painful and leaking money out of the business boat maybe, right? Things like that. And you're looking to build that business around it because you're solving, business at the end of the day in entrepreneurship is solving problems for people. Even when you want to get a remote job, you're solving problems for that company. They're going to pay you to solve it for their business. So I just want to jump in there. But
right. A lot of people, you don't need to invent the next Uber or Tesla. You just need to figure out a problem that people are having, provide the solution. And the way you go about doing that is, just by getting involved in things. And, if you're not utilizing a lot of communities, I think Reddit is a great place for that. A lot of people are always complaining about certain problems or issues.
Yeah. And it's candid too, because Reddit's just kind of some username, so people are candid, they're being honest. Right. They don't have to use it tied to their own name, so they're just that's real research data that you can get back like on forums. And
oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than that, I think you got to stick with the education, find your tribe and community, find some help. I think a lot of people they wait too long to reach out for help. Yeah. People are way more willing to help you, especially in the entrepreneur community. We want to see everyone succeed.
Yeah. Because it benefits everyone involved,
Exactly. It makes the pie bigger, it makes everything better, it makes the community better.
Yeah.
So reach out for help. Sometimes it's hard to find a mentor. You might have to pay for coaching. But again, I think I do coaching myself. I have paid for coaching in the past, and I've gotten so much value out of it.
Me too.
It's worth every penny. Every time I get done with a coaching call, it holds me accountable. It pushes me forward to expanding my business. So I do think there's a lot of value out of that, and I think a lot of people are just hesitant to do that because there are people who do get scammed, and it kind of ruins the reputation.
Plus, coaching nowadays is such a giant industry, and there's so many personal life coaches or whatever who have hardly any experience to kind of tout. So it's kind of like, okay, well, are we getting the right people? Maybe they just have good sales skills.
Right.
Get you on the call, and you're kind of like, well, I didn't really get a whole lot of value from that. So I would say one corollary to that is just vet people. Look at their background, look at people, what other people say about them. Of course, maybe search online, see if they're legit. But yeah, you're right. Like legit coaching from people who have real experience can be a tangible value add in your life, and it's huge. And same thing, like I've paid for coaching as well, consulting. I've had many mentors for copy and just for success and whatnot that I look up to.
Right.
And it's changed the game. So.
And I would say one last thing to add is you just need to get your life kind of structured.
Yeah.
So if you're failing at eating healthy, staying in shape, not waking up, to be productive. If your life is a mess, so is your business. That's going to carry over to that. So I think it's really essential. Like if you're doing well in your personal life, if you're focusing on yourself, making yourself a better person, this personal development, it's going to translate to your business side. So I think that's another important thing, because when you do get into entrepreneurship, they are kind of mended together, your personal and your business life.
They're inseparable. You can't really separate them.
So having success in one is going to lead to success in the other, and vice versa.
Totally.
So
cool. Well, thank you guys for showing up. This has been immensely valuable. Thank you, Mike, for your time. I appreciate that. I'm glad that we were able to just kind of demonstrate kind of what's going on. And of course, if you haven't seen the part one, we're going to hop over to Mike's channel for the first one. It's a little bit shorter as well, so you can get the intro. But we talk a lot about copywriting for a specific remote job. So, and one more time, of course, check out the Global Career book. It's on Amazon. And that might be a good thumbnail right here. Maybe just pop it right here. But check this book out. Mike's got a lot of value to share with remote jobs, and also just getting your start. A lot of people ask me a lot about copy and entrepreneurship, how to get started. The most common questions I'm getting really is just how do you get started? What should I do first? So I think the book is a great start. Obviously, check motiveinmotion.com. Check his site as well. I'm going to link all those down in the description as well. So yeah, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for paying attention to if you stayed to the end, then congratulations. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have another couple interviews like this as well in the future. So stay tuned for that. But other than that, I think we're good. And thank you for coming on. And yeah, we'll stay in touch. And if you like this, comment below, like, share, subscribe. And if you have any questions specifically for me or Mike, just drop a comment. We'll try to answer them as best as we can. But other than that, we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Later, everyone. Thanks for having me on, Evan.
Yeah, of course.